Hmm, are you kind of missing the good old era of impression city builders? Erecting massive monuments to forever commemorate yourself, dealing with stupid walkers because you forgot once more to install Augustus mod. Or maybe you simply long going back to the rice field in the only game nobody ever really played more than once. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone. We might have a fix for that. That isn't complete trash, that is. Because there was sort of a tradition of people trying to emulate the livelihood of these old Sierra games in new packages, from simple clones to extensive games in new settings, but there really wasn't any one of these that were decent in the end, and the hype died on release in most cases, if there even was a hype at all. But this time around might be different. Nebuchadnezzar is an upcoming city builders. Disclaimer now, Nepos, the development team of 2 persons, sent me an early access code for the game. It looks and feels very familiar to the past experiences in the genre, but it does have a veneer with little cuneiform squibbles all over it. Just standing there and absorbing the environment is quite an experience. The music is soothing and the graphics are comical, especially if you turn on Big Pet's cheat code in the options. The game is pretty straightforward when it comes to the city builders. You lay down houses and provide goods and services to upgrade them. In Nebu, you have 3 different layers of civilization. The poor, scummy plebs that do all the dirty grunt work, the middle class that despite the previous class unless there are enough expensive garden adorning their shitty middle class mentioned colony of suburban dystopia, and finally there are the aristocrats that consume a lot of goods and control most of the wealth while returning absolutely nothing except prestige. God, these people are very prestigious though. But yeah, the game is just that. Build up houses, provide the goods. There is a solid puzzle environment that sticks with it though. As you try to maximize the room you're using for your wheat farms and bakeries, you always need to keep in mind that the somewhat shortish range of delivery that you have. You have to have somewhere to send your goods after all within the blue range, or your business won't be able to do anything with whatever they produce. And while simple enough in theory, the game offers a tough challenge as you get further and further. The ever-expanding needs of your city will force you to go back and touch up just a tad bit what you have already did in the past, and unfortunately, doing such little renovations of your solid foundations can make it become a shamble. And you might never know, but the sea people you keep hearing about for the Bronze Age collapse might just have been a big fat cope for the milkman stuffing up all his milk into the bread warehouse, causing a drastic collapse of baked yeast in the slump of floor, creating a dramaturgical slump of available primary goods, initiating a stupendous immigration of the essential workers that lead to a labor shortage in primary industry, which will then accentuate the dismissal of the high caste of the society into an exile, causing you to sit right there like a big dummy after crumbling away the little bit glimmer of hope that was still residing in the dark world of pre-Roman literature. Of course, it will be total madness to avoid comparing the game to Pharaoh, because, well, let's face it, there is a lot of resemblance to both games, and if you're interested in this one, you've probably already played Pharaoh, let's face it. The most prominent feature is the monument constructions in both game. In Pharaoh, you had to set up your monuments and have work crews go on site and prepare the terrain, then the crew will fetch the goods and pull the stone backs on site and lay them down. It was a beautiful spectacle to witness and most certainly mesmerizing. In Nebuchadnezzar, it is slightly different. You lay down the monument, then the bricks get delivered to it, and it builds itself piece by piece. Certainly not as entrailing to observe, but on the upside there is customization for your monuments and temples. You can lay down each different pieces of your choice and set up staircase and doors while adorning the building with pots and fires. But if you are like me and not so much into the creative sides of things, you can just plop down pre-designed monuments and move on with life. One difference I found notable, and that somewhat led me to a disappointment every single start of the game, is the recurrent food theme. In the impression games, you had to deserve the houses with a variety of food. Whatever you could grow, hunt, fish, or import is a fair game, but you need one type and then two type and so on as your houses evolve. In Nebuchadnezzar, the system is much more rigid. You will need wheat for bread with milk for your poor people. You cannot diverge away from always starting your cities with production of bread and milk. Then you make pottery and a well and so on, and this formula sticks through cities after cities. I understand there is a certain complexity due to the way the housings are laid out, as each citizen class will have their own basic homes. The poor people will start with the normal homes, but your townsfolk will need villas that will only let them move in as you provide them with dates and fish. And then the aristocrat will need even more complex housing that will require you to import goods and transfer these imported goods into even more evolved products for them to even consider your little city to be somewhere they want to move in. There are also a few recurrent complaints I've seen with the game throughout different discussion and website and most notably other videos. And it is that the game appears to be easy because there is no RNG divine intervention to run your games. Because there are no wages and making infinite money is easy with infinite time because there are no fire and police or because there's a lack of military aspect in the game. So let's tackle them by order. About the divine presence of gods affecting the game, God bless the lack of fantasy in here. Seriously, I booted up Pharaoh just to compare after playing Nebuchadnezzar, and do you call it a blessing or a curse when Basset fills your warehouses with flax? Kishu already had trouble enough keeping up with his multiplication tablets. Let's not bring in more confusion, please. I sure don't know, but it definitely sounds like the same conundrum of asking which is more cruel between being new and being the only one not new. So I don't find not having to play with the D20 Russian roulette temple building frenzy to be so bad. I kind of enjoy, in fact, not having to worry about Osiris flooding my fertile plains early or being an abusive girlfriend to Neptune in order to exploit his blessings that can be milked by making him furious and then kowtowing to him in a month while a ship comes to import my entire stock of Avery dildos. How about no wages then? As if it will make sense to have people work for free, right? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, about the fire, architect, police. Bro, man, seriously, if you need stupid walkers to keep your city up, you maybe just want to go and play Pharaoh at this point. The difficulty does not come from the RNG of walker stupidity in Nebuchadnezzar, but from your own inability to assess the possibility of a bread delivery man filling up the milk warehouse causing a total civilization collapse due to undersupply of milk. Consider that if you are jumping in Nebuchadnezzar expecting a clone of Chris Breater's games, you will be sorely disappointed, and that's a great thing. Because let's face it, so many games tried the copycat formula, and yet every single one of them failed. Taking inspiration in a concept and exploring new branches while pruning off the inconvenience is not wrong. Going for new experience, exploiting different techniques to do so is actually quite satisfying. So while the impression you might be getting from the game reminds you of the good old expression games, don't be too quick to dismiss it on others' first impression of the game. Nebuchadnezzar is an expensive game in its own right, but the price is actually fair, and that is alright. As compared to the plethora of clones, this one might actually be enjoyable to play. And if you really must just play a clone, just wait a bit, you'll get another copy-paste formula of Pharaoh in a couple of months that you will probably drop in a hot minute when you realize it's the same game you've been playing for 20 years now. I sure hope you have enjoyed this review though, and if you did, why don't you consider subscribing right now and maybe watching one of my live streams about Nebuchadnezzar if you're curious for more. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.